Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 250. Holy cow! Recorded live on June 15th, 2015. I am your host, Todd Klindt. And before we go too much further, let's talk about where you can download this thing. So I'm Todd Klindt. And I went out many years ago, found my home on the web, and I was very creative and bought toddklindt.com. So depending on how you're listening to this thing, you might be getting it on YouTube or iTunes or whatever, but you can always go to toddklindt.com/blog and see what I'm up to. This particular episode, every link I talk about, everything, every link to articles and every link to the different ways you can download this thing, all of them will be available at toddklindt.com/podcast250. And you can go to toddklindt.com/netcast if you want to join in on the live chat or watch the video. You can go to youtube.com/toddklindtnetcast to watch all of my videos, and who wouldn't want to? There's a couple of years worth of great viewing up there. You can't miss out. Every one of them's got a great nugget in there. You're going to want to go there. And so then you can hit me up on Twitter at Todd Klindt. You can email me, todd.klindt@rackspace.com. There's about 47 different ways to get a hold of me. But my goal is to have this content available however it's easiest for you to consume. So if you've got any suggestions about that, give me a shout. But I've got it on YouTube. I've got it on iTunes. It was in the Zune marketplace till they redid all that, and I can't figure out how to get it back in there. I need to get it on, what's that other one, Stitcher? I need to get it on there. Haven't looked at that much. But if there's a place that I can put this to make it easier for you to consume, you give me a shout and let me know. All of this is possible from the fine folks at Rackspace. Rackspace is my employer. They provided me with this PowerPoint template, this flag, not this flag. Joanne Klein provided me this flag, but Rackspace, and you can't see, but it says Rackspace up there. I'm going to pan up and all that. But you can go to sharepoint.rackspace.com to find out about all of our great SharePoint offerings. And I would encourage you to do that. And since we're talking about Rackspace and talking about great things on the web about Rackspace, I saw this link today, and I thought I would share it with you guys. It is about a program at Rackspace called the Technical Career Track, or the TCT, for those of us who are in the know, secret handshake and all that. So this flag behind me, again, it's a Rackspace flag, and you can't see it because it's up to it, but it says Principal Architect on there. So I am part of the TCT at Rackspace. Rackspace, being a technical company, has a really cool program called the TCT, and it is a way for folks that are technical to advance through their career without having to move into management. So everybody would lose if I became anybody's boss. Everybody would hate it. I would hate it. The person whose boss I was would absolutely hate it. They would run screaming from the building. It would be terrible. Upper management would hate it. We'd probably get sued. It would just be a lose all the way around. So with the TCT, I'm able to stay at Rackspace and progress through my career, get promotions and get new responsibilities and things like that without ever managing people. Great thing. So a bunch of great companies have this. Rackspace has it. Microsoft has it. But anyway, there was an article in Network World, I think. That link that I put in the chat room is a short URL by accident. Bringing this up here. But I think it was at networkworld.com. And they interviewed a couple of folks from Rackspace to ask them about this. And it's a great program. So they talk about it in the article here. There are 6,000 Rackers worldwide, 6,000 of us, and 50 are in the TCT. And it's a thing that you have to apply for. You have to be accepted. There's a board we go through twice a year. The TCT board looks at applications, and a few get in, a whole bunch don't. But it's about a little less than 1% of the folks at Rackspace are eligible for the TCT. It's been something that I've been in at Rackspace since I started there 3.5 years ago, and it has been really great. So this is one of those things that makes Rackspace a great company, that they know that they want to keep their technical talent, and they know that when you've got somebody who's really good at doing technical things, it makes no sense to make them stop doing technical things so that they can watch other people do technical things. So great program. Hats off to Rackspace for having it. Hats off to the senior leadership at Rackspace for continuing to support it. And it was great to see some of my friends, Adrian and Egley and Aaron, I think, was in here also, Van Lindbergh. So a whole bunch of great folks. So that was a great article. So read that, put some comments at the bottom of that. I appreciate the folks at Rackspace doing all that. That was good stuff. Okay, so production notes. Let's do that. Oh, that backfired. All right, so I got PowerPoint going. So we'll talk about that particular thing in a second here. Production. So the good news for you folks is that I am off next week. Bright and early Saturday morning. Normally, I hate getting up early on Saturday mornings. I kind of think of Saturdays and Sundays as my time. My children have a little different view on that, but that's neither here nor there. But Saturday morning, I have to get up really, really early because my wife and I are going on vacation, and we are going to be gone all week. So we're leaving on Saturday, getting back on Friday. And so I will not be here next week because I will be on vacation in a little Caribbean island nation called Jamaica. Very excited. I'm sure they have internet access there. I don't plan on utilizing any of it to do any podcasting. So next week you are stuck with Shane. Who knows what he'll talk about? He will probably talk about how great I am, how much he misses hanging out with me, and all that kind of stuff. So I will be gone next week. There will be a podcast, but I will be back in 2 weeks on the 29th. So you got that to look forward to. Now, because I will be out of the country, the production for 251 will probably take place late because I won't have any of the files and Shane doesn't know how to do any of the production stuff. So that will probably come out late. I apologize in advance for that. But I'll be on vacation. It will be a good time. I can't wait. I might be a little tired looking when we get back on next 2 weeks from now, but it's and yes, so Shane doesn't know how to do any of the editing and Lori's not volunteering, even though I would agree to double her salary again. That would I would do that. I would do that. But again, so production next week will probably take a long time. So other production notes. Oh, we're too far. Let's talk about that right now. So started last week. Last week was the first week that I did this with my new machine. So after 3.5 years of doing this from one machine, I bought a new machine last week and everything went awesome. Software-wise, everything agreed with me. The editing and the rendering, it's like it's a 4-year newer machine, went a lot faster. So that was all good. I'm struggling a little bit. Normally when I do this, the screen behind me, that's got my slides on it, and then a screen that you guys can't see up here. We're normally on a second machine. So I podcasted from one machine that was here, and I had the slides running on a second machine. Part of that was because, resources not being able to do both. But now I've got this machine that's got lots of displays and lots of power, so I thought I would put the slides on both. But now I can't change the slides. Oh, there it goes. So as long as PowerPoint has the focus, my little slide, because I got a little slide thing here that I use for, so I thought that'd be great because that way I don't have to mouse over there. I can just hit this. Yeah, that didn't work very well. So I might have to put those back on another machine. But other than that, things went really great. I did have a couple of little minor things. I do a bunch of this production bit with PowerShell. I script a bunch of it. It's a combination of PowerShell and it's all done in Dropbox because I, again, had multiple machines. I would record with one machine. I would edit with another machine. I would render with a different machine. And so everything's synced with Dropbox. And for my scripts and everything to work, Dropbox had to be in the same location on all the machines. So it was all on the C drive because one of these machines was my Surface Pro 2. So I got this new machine and I got big drives in it. I put Dropbox on the E drive, which broke all my scripts. So I had to move that around a little bit, but I've got that figured out. And so the editing, all that went really well. This is probably the first time I've ever changed hardware while doing this podcast. And things didn't just explode Wile E. Coyote style in my face. So I was pretty happy about that. So I continued. I imagine that will continue to work well now that I've got Dropbox moved. So still looking about changing the time. So right now we're starting this recording at 8:30 Central Time or UTC -5 at 8:30 p.m. on Monday. Probably going to change this, going to move it 5 hours earlier to 3:30. Got some folks in Europe that we want to bring on, and it's summertime here. I want to go outside and play. So probably going to be doing that. Looking at doing that in July. I haven't got a firm date yet, but for now, still doing it at 8:30 Central. So if you're somebody who can't join the chat room live, when it's in the afternoon, you got 3 or 4 more of these that you can get in the evening, and then we'll switch over. But I'm giving you plenty of warning so that there's no surprises. Another change that I'm going to make is I'm going to change some of my MP3 tags a little bit so they make a little more sense when they show up on your car, your MP3 player, stuff like that, making it sort a little better. So if you've got a big library and you've got a bunch of these MP3s laying around, the tags are going to change. So be on alert for that. I don't imagine that will screw up very many people up, but I've had a couple of podcasts that I listen to that have changed their MP3 tags ever so slightly, caused my flow to be off a little bit. So I'm giving you some time. I keep meaning to do that, and I keep forgetting to do that. And it's all the change is going to be is part of my PowerShell script, because I create all my MP3 tags with PowerShell, and I don't remember it until I'm getting ready to generate the MP3 tags. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to screw around with it now. I just need to generate this and get it out. So I need to remember, put something in Outlook to remind me. But I'll be changing those flags. Not a big deal. I talked last week that I had been negotiating with someone to get them on as a guest. I have good news. They have agreed. So I think in 3 weeks, not next week because that's Shane, not the week after that because my guest is busy, but in 3 weeks, so that will be July 6th, I am happy to welcome Kirk Evans from Microsoft as a guest here on the podcast. So Kirk has been doing the SharePoint thing forever. I think his official title now was like evangelist, Azure evangelist or something at Microsoft. But you can go to his blog, blogs.msdn.com/b/K-A Evans, EVANS. Kirk is an IT pro. He's got some developer content out there, but he has got some great IT pro content, and he has had great IT pro content for years and years. So if you're not already viewing his blog, shame on you, but go out there now, get up to speed. Kirk and I, in 3 weeks on July 6th, are going to be talking about identity, specifically Azure Identity, Azure AD, things like that. So, I've got a bunch of stuff that I've been playing with lately. Kirk's been doing this forever. I saw him do a talk at SharePoint Evolution in London. Did a great job. Picked a lot of great tips up. So if you've got any kind of like Azure AD questions, syncing on-prem to Azure AD, that kind of stuff, 3 weeks from now, you'll be able to ask those questions. I'll try to get him in the chat room. I don't know if Kirk will be on IRC or not. I don't know if he does a bunch of these things, so having all these flashing things might be a little distracting. I've kind of gotten used to it, but we'll definitely be taking questions. So if you have questions, you can tweet them to me, tweet them to Kirk, whatever, but we would love to find out. This is a great way to start down the hybrid route. If you've got on-prem SharePoint, you got some Office 365, but you're not entirely sure what to do, getting your authentication, getting your identity piece nailed down is the very first step, and Kirk is a great guy for that. So we will talk to him, get all your identity questions answered. July 6th. So try to be sobered up and well rested after the July 4th holiday. Let me turn the slide on while we're over here. The light. Oh, so much better. So much better. Okay. Then, so I've talked before about having guests on, and I got an email today from Michael Wharton, and he would like to be a guest as well. So I think I'm going to bring Michael on too. You guys may know Michael Wharton better by his secret identity, My Project Expert. Those of you in the chat room, the hooligans out there recognize him. He pops in now and then. He is a project guy. I think he's a project MVP. He's been doing project forever. He's been popping in and out of the podcast for years now, but he has volunteered to come in and talk to us about Project Server. So I know nothing about Project Server, so I think that would be a great idea to have him come in. So I haven't gotten with him and haven't gotten the schedules all figured out, but Michael Wharton will probably be coming out. And again, to prep yourself for that, you can go out to Twitter and follow him at My Project Expert and find out a little bit more about Project. So I think that'll be good stuff. All right, let's try to change slides. Ah, son of a gun. I'm going back to the old way. This new machine sucks. All right, topics. So we've got a bunch, and I see I'm already like 15 minutes in. Holy cow. So the first thing last week, Patch Tuesday, good stuff, right? Everybody's hitting refresh on the browsers, waiting to see when the new patches are coming out. So SharePoint 2013 got a patch. It makes you, puts you up to build 15.0.4727. And that one is looking pretty good. I've installed it in one machine. and no big problems, but haven't really been able to give it a good going over. So of course you can keep up to date with all this stuff by going to toddklindt.com/SP2013builds. You can follow me on Twitter, and I tweet out when I add these patches at SP2013patches. Why I didn't make that at SP2013builds is a tremendous question. I wish I knew the answer to that one myself, but that one is out there. So I got all excited, got the information about that patch for 2013 out right away, lickety split, and then completely forgot to do the one for SharePoint 2010. So I will do that tonight. I was getting the links for my notes, and there is no link for 2010 because I just have not done it. But so I feel bad for being a slacker about, yes, and Lori did say something this afternoon. Thanks for calling me out on that. Appreciate that. But my web page usage, the 2013 page gets about 2.5 times as much traffic as the 2010 page. So at least I got the right one out. But one thing that I did do to kind of make up for slacking and forgetting to do the 2010 thing was I added a new thing to the page for the CU on SharePoint 2013. So if you go to toddklindt.com/SP2013 June 2015 CU, so SP2013JUNE2015 CU. If you go to that page, that takes you to the wiki page for that particular patch. Not a lot of changes there. I've got, the previous patch, all the links. As regressions and notes and all those things get reported, I will add them there. But I added another link underneath the patch history, and it's a link for monitor changes. And this is something that I've been kind of playing with. I'm looking to you guys to let me know if you think it's a good idea or not. But I went out to changedetection.com and registered that URL. And so you can go out to that same URL that I post there. And if you sign up for changedetection.com, they will email you when I change that page. So it's a lot like a SharePoint alert, except you guys can't log into my blog, so you can't set up alerts, but it's the same kind of thing. So I've got a URL for that for my builds page as well. And I think I've got that out there. I can't remember if I put that out there or not. Yep. So the builds page has one as well. So if you just want to sign up for that, then you can get an email when I change the 2013 builds page. So let me know what you think about that. Again, the idea behind this is to get you guys the information whatever way is best for you guys. If you're, subscribed to my blog via RSS, you'll get it one way. If you follow my accounts on Twitter, you get it one way. Now there's a way you can get an email. Whatever is the best way for you guys to consume this, I want to hook you up. So this is one way to get it with email without having to create logins and do all that crazy stuff for my blog. So let me know what you think about that. If there's interest in that, I will continue to put those on those wiki pages. So, and as always, once I get the link up for the 2010 CU, and once you get the 2013 CU installed, if you have any problems, let me know. I would love to list them there. All your fellow IT pros out there, we're all in this together. They all want to know what problems that you find so that they don't have to suffer through them first. So go ahead and put them out there. And if you send me one, I'll give you full credit for it. I'll make you a star, and the entire SharePoint patching world will appreciate it. So let me know if you find anything. So a whole bunch of stuff's been going on the last week in technology. I can't cover all of it, but there were a few things that I wanted to hit tonight. One of them is Microsoft announced last week that they are dropping the Metro Skype app. So if you've got Windows 8 or Windows 8.1, you've probably experienced this lovely deal where you have, not only do you have two different Internet Explorers, you have two different Skypes. I mean, two completely different Skypes. Oh my God, how much did that suck? So you would install Windows 8.1, go, hey, it's Skype, cool, and you'd hit it, and it would be the Metro, the full screen app, which is useless, which is not what anybody wants, except for like 3 people who use it on small tablets. It was terrible. So then you had to go out to Skype.com and find the Skype for desktop application, because that's what you really thought you were clicking in the first place, and install it. And then you had 2 different Skype links, and it was a terrible deal. So they are killing the Metro style app and going exclusively to the desktop app. So I'm usually in favor of choice. And so honestly, I think it's probably okay if they're both there, but it was horribly confusing that the one that nobody wanted was already installed and was the default one. It got very confusing. The other thing is I have a hell of a time figuring out how to shut the notifications for that thing off. So I normally use the Skype desktop client, like on my desktop here, but on a couple of my tablets, I have mistakenly and regrettably clicked the Skype Metro app. So then the dumb thing ran and I logged in, and now somewhere in the bowels of Windows, this thing is running. And if I don't mute my tablets, if somebody Skypes me, I will hear like all these chirps going off of all these Skype clients letting me know that that it's there. So I will be glad to see that thing go. Now, there is a trick to that, and I didn't think to put it in my notes, but in Skype, you can actually do / commands like you can in Merc. And so on a Skype for desktop machine, so the one you actually want to do, you can have it list all the other clients that are logged in to Skype, and you can kill them all. So I've done that before too. And that sounds like something I should put in my notes. But yeah, so I do that every once in a while. And so I'll like have a web page somewhere that's open that's got Skype and the dumb Metro client somewhere and just chirp, chirp, chirp. But that's, you can kill all your other Skype clients that way. But soon that won't be a problem. Skype for Metro, the Metro Skype will be nothing but a bad memory, something we'll tell our kids about when they're naughty, try to scare them, things like that. So I was kind of glad to see that that go away. Another great thing that Microsoft announced just today, as a matter of fact, is that they are pushing out a new build of Windows 10 for phone. And they're pushing that out tomorrow, I believe, tomorrow or Wednesday, I can't remember. So for those of you like myself who are running the Windows 10 preview on a device, and let me bring this device up right now. So the Windows 10 preview, it's got some merit to it. I've got it running on a 635 here. This is not my daily driver because I know this is a preview and I don't run previews on production hardware. But I do have it running on a backup device here. And Windows 10 has some rough spots. It's got some really great things. So for instance, I love the settings at the top. So if you see there, we've got the short Windows 8.1 style, but if I hit expand, then we can get a customized list with more links. I love that. The other thing is if you're at the list of your tiles at the bottom, there's an all apps thing. And if you click that, you've got search at the top. If you manually, or if you install an app, newly installed apps show up on top. So there's a bunch of great stuff that come in Windows 10, but there's a few things that make it kind of rough that I haven't used it for. And so I'm anxious to see the new build come out. I will be putting it on this phone, and then I can see if it's going to be better for me. The way to get that, if you don't have it, is to download the Windows Insider app for Windows Phone. And then you have to go in, you have to download the app, and then you have to sign into the app, and you have to say, yes, truly, I really want to get these things. And then when you run Windows Update, you'll be able to, on your phone, you'll get the new versions of Windows Phone 10. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's going to be a good thing. So Joanne asked in the chat room, what's the word on the Outlook folder sync? I don't know, but as I have said before on the show, the email situation is the thing that makes Windows Phone 10 unusable for me right now, because I can't have multiple tiles for my multiple email accounts. And just because of the way that I work, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea in general. I'm not saying it doesn't work for anybody, but for the way that I happen to use my email, that doesn't work for me. So I'm sticking with 8.1 on my daily driver. But I'm curious. I'm glad I've got this backup phone, and you can get these Lumia 635s for like $50. This is no contract. It actually doesn't have a SIM in it at all. I just use Wi-Fi with it, but I've got Windows 10 on here, so I can play with it and see what's going on. But yeah, so when the new build comes out, I will put it on here and see what goes on. So they mentioned that this was coming out today. I think it comes out tomorrow or the day after. So if you want to wipe your phone so you don't do a build-to-build upgrade of a beta product, if you want to wipe it back to Windows 8.1, you can do that, and then it will upgrade from 8.1 to Windows Phone 10. So that will be coming out tomorrow, I believe. I'm very excited to see what improvements they've made. I've been running Windows 10 desktop. I've been running that preview on multiple devices for many months, and it has been really solid. So I like where things are going. And I think I saw a headline today, I didn't read the story, that somewhere either Microsoft announced it or it was leaked that Windows Phone 10 would be released in September-ish. So I talked about earlier podcasts about how Microsoft is going to try to get those upgrades out of the hands of carriers and make it so you can upgrade your phone when you want to, which has kind of always been the case. Because with Windows 8, you can join the preview for developers, and that gets you the OS updates, whether your carrier pushes them out or not. With Windows 10, obviously, if you join the Windows Insider, you can get the Windows 10 updates outside of your carrier, because I don't even have a carrier for this thing. What you can't get is some of those firmware bits, but that's kind of machine specific. So I'm not sure how that's going to change moving forward, but it sounds like in September, they're going to have an RTM thing going. So in the chat room, Jerry Lacanu, co-worker of mine, all around good guy, asks, so if they are not supporting the Metro Skype, does that mean they will kill the Metro Link app, aka Skype for Business? I don't know. I've never used the Metro Link app. The article that I read about them killing the Skype Metro app was that they were killing it in favor of developing a good universal app that would run on phones and whatever. So I don't know. I've never used the Metro Link app. I've only ever used the standalone one. So I don't know. But having two apps, man, is that confusing. It's confusing for me, and I do this stuff for a living. I live it and breathe it every day. Trying to explain this to my mom when I first got Windows 8.1 on her computer. So Mom, it's a good thing you're already sitting down, because I got to tell you a story about two Internet Explorers. Now you're going to see an Internet Explorer here, and you're going to want to click it, but don't click it because it's the wrong Internet Explorer. You're going to want to click the other Internet Explorer. That story was just horrible. So I'm glad to see that they're starting to back away from that a little bit. Talking about product stuff, this is a good one. I'm very excited about this. Microsoft announced today, I think, that Azure AD Conenct will hit general availability this month. It's been in preview, beta, whatever, since August, I believe. But Azure AD Conenct is Microsoft's next rev of identity synchronization software. So before Azure AD Conenct, you could run DirSync, you could run ADFS, depending on what your identity needs were, but getting them set up was kind of tricky. They're not completely user friendly. Azure AD Conenct kind of wraps it all around both of those solutions, so it's kind of wizard driven. The thing that the Microsoft marketing folks like to say is that if you need DirSync, it's 4 clicks with Azure AD Conenct. It's not exactly 4 clicks, but it's pretty close. But with this Azure AD Conenct, it makes it really easy to get your on-prem AD or parts of your on-prem AD synced up to Azure AD or synced up to Office 365. So I'm planning on a blog post on that. I was kind of waiting for the product to go RTM or whatever. Looks like that's going to happen this month. So I will do that. Lots of screenshots and how you can very easily get your on-prem Active Directory synced or pushed up into Azure AD so you can use it with Office 365. Great stuff. For us IT pros, the last couple of years have been scary with the cloud, and this is a great opportunity for us to figure out where our home is now. This is one of the skills that we're going to have. Identity is super important for hybrid, and there's all kinds of things coming down the pike. For instance, another thing that I've done that I need to blog, but I haven't, is with Windows 10, which is out today, that you can download right now and put it on a machine. It can join Azure AD domains. So think about that for a second. We've got SharePoint in the cloud. We've got Exchange in the cloud. Now we have AD in the cloud. So I can take a Windows 10 machine, join it to Azure AD in the cloud. So I need an Azure AD account. I sign in with that. All the settings are up in the cloud. If I'm a tenant administrator, I can control devices and things like that from the cloud. So when somebody logs into their box that is joined to an Azure AD domain, it just works. So that's happening. When Windows Server 2016 comes out next year, it will also be able to join Azure AD domains. So as an IT pro, having this piece down cold and understanding it is going to be very important for the next several years of your career. So when that comes out, I'll go ahead and do that blog post so that it's got the RTM screenshots and all that. But it's good stuff. I've been playing with it the last few months. It was kind of a big piece of the day-long session I did at Ignite in May, and I'm really enjoying it. It's good stuff. So look forward to those posts when they come out here in a month or so. So Lori mentions in the chat room, who needs a building to work in? That's an interesting thing. And I've told this story a bunch of times, but my wife works for a startup. They started 2009, I think, something like that. They're about 1,000 people now. Tech startup. It's a software as a service company. And they built a new building a few years ago, brand new building, and they put no server room in it. That's just the way businesses are these days. So there is no server room. Everything is in the cloud. Everything's in the cloud. So they don't have a server room. They don't have any servers on-prem. Everything's in the cloud. And that's becoming more and more common. So these kind of things, understanding the pieces in the cloud are good. And Joanne, it's funny, she's talking about that. Her and I were talking back and forth on Twitter last night. We're both studying for different Azure exams. I'm currently studying for the Azure infrastructure exam. It's like 75-33, something like that. It's not just about authentication, but it's about VMs and all the other stuff. But there's just a lot of really great things out in Azure. So I'll be studying for that exam. Hopefully by telling you guys about it, I'll have a couple thousand people keeping me honest about when I take it and all that. So Jerry is saying no server room. Do they at least have an IDF? I don't know what IDF is, but no server room. They have a closet that has their phone switch in it, and that's about it. And they kind of use it for a storeroom. It's a storeroom that happens to have a phone switch in it. But yeah, no server room. Everything's in the cloud. Okay, so that was good. Okay, so here's a thing. I moved some stuff around. So let's see if I can do this without making OneNote too terribly upset. Now, the fun PowerShell thing. So Jason Himmelstein, who's in the chat room right now, or he was, yep. He and I were doing some stuff. Jason works at Rackspace now, which has been a lot of fun. He's worked with us for about a month now. And Jason and I were working on some identity stuff today, some ADFS stuff. And we stumbled across kind of an odd little bug in one of his, well, not a bug, but an odd opportunity to improve one of his PowerShell scripts. So Jason, like myself, is an IT pro that just lives and breathes PowerShell. We do everything in PowerShell. And he has a bunch of great PowerShell scripts that he uses to create PowerShell profiles on new machines. So he spins up a new server like we were doing for this thing he and I were working on. He's got a GitHub repository that has his scripts in it. And one of these scripts creates profiles. And this adds the modules that he wants and does things like configures the transcript, puts it in a certain directory, a bunch of really great system tweaking things, and it does it per user on the machine that he's on. So when he and I were planning this whole thing out, he had some users that he was using, and we renamed a couple of users to make things fit well because we had some collisions between on-prem users and Azure AD users or Office 365 users. So then he ran this script to create the profile for his user, and it didn't work. But it had worked everywhere else, and it worked a bunch of times, and it worked great. And we're watching it, we're running it, and it's running, it's completing successfully, it's doing the thing. And it occurs to us that the logic that he had put in his script was based on the username. So it was saying, I'm going to get the user's name, I'm going to go to C users, username, blah, 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 put the profile in, whatever, whatever. On this particular user, it was one of the users that we had renamed. So the user's name was now, we'll call it Jason01, but when it had been initially created, it was just Jason. So we had logged in as that user a few times, done some things, then logged out, renamed it. So his PowerShell script is looking for C users Jason01, but Jason01's real profile was just at Jason because that had been created when he was still the Jason account. So we took a look at it, and what we decided was, instead of mapping it to the username, we should just map it to the profile directory, which makes a whole lot more sense. Now, 99 times out of 100, the username is the profile directory, but in this case, it wasn't. So this gave him an opportunity to tweak that script a little bit with something that we don't normally think about. So, and I wanted to talk about this in PowerShell because this gets a little confusing. So if you're going to command prompt, the far inferior command prompt, you can type the word set and it will give you all your environment variables. And one of those is profile directory. One of those is username. All of those system variables are exposed in PowerShell with the $env variable. And so he was using $env:username, which was giving him his current username. And we went through and took out the C:users username, and replace that with $env : user profile. And that gave the right location. So again, it was an honest mistake, and I've written 1,000 PowerShell scripts over the years, and I've never once concerned myself with the username not matching the profile directory because it's just never come up before. So that was a good learning experience for Jason and I. And Jason has got all of his stuff out on GitHub, and you can download all of this. And so it's at github.com/Jason Himmelstein, Himmelstein. And that will give you all this stuff. Mike Robbins is in the chat room. We've got a couple of PowerShell guys in the chat room. And Mike Robbins is in there, and he's got a great tip. The env variable acts a little weird. It's not like most variables. So if you want to see all the different values in there, do a dir. And PowerShell treats it like a file system object. So dir space env : and that will give you all those different variables. And you can adjust your scripts like that. But that was, so Jason and I, we're fighting these ADFS issues, and ADFS is just not friendly. It's like wrestling a bear. But we kind of got off on this tangent. We got a little bit of a win. We loved troubleshooting that. We actually got something working. It was kind of a good deal. So that was a good time. So go out and grab Jason's profile scripts, and also do yourself a favor, go out to PowerShell, do a dir env : and see all those different variables that are available to you out there. Because there's a bunch of those things that I'm sure you're using in your scripts now. There's things like machine name and all that kind of stuff. It's good. And Mike Robbins is saying, if you want to really be a show off, you can do start iExplore, HTTPS, whatever. I think you can also do invoke item, and then a URL. I think it'll invoke the web page as well. But that was a good thing, and that made me look at that, and I'm like, I just don't do enough with profile scripts, and I certainly don't have all of my PowerShell scripts up in GitHub. And Jason chastised me appropriately for that. Honestly, I've always thought of GitHub as a developer thing and kind of confusing, so I've kind of stayed away from it. But having as many machines as I have now and things here in the cloud, right now I've got all of my PowerShell scripts in Dropbox. So when I install a new machine, as soon as I download the Dropbox client, poof, they're all there. But GitHub does things like does versioning and that kind of stuff. So, and Mike in the chat room, Mike Robbins brings up another great point, that you should make your scripts dynamic and not static. Amen, brother. And so by that, he means don't hard code values, but use things like these env variables to figure stuff out. I got an email from a coworker on Friday, I think Thursday or Friday, trying to figure out some SharePoint stuff. And like we all do, coworker went out to Google or Bing, looked for the problem, found some scripts that were 90% of the way there. And this one cracked me up. It was a PowerShell script, and I think my coworker, sent me the file, so I didn't see the blog or wherever that it came from. But it was a bunch of functions. Like, this is awesome. This is great. Instead of just writing, 14 different .ps1 files, it was one big file that had a bunch of functions in it. Like, this is really good. This is a sign of a really smart PowerShell person. They've moved past that first step. They're writing functions, they're writing filters. And I started reading through it, and everything that they were doing was a function, thumbs up. They made up some really crazy verbs, thumbs down. So PowerShell has a strict number of verbs that it will recognize. If you're not using the right verbs when you try to import your module, PowerShell will yell at you, get yellow glowering text. So the verbs were bad. But then the worst sin of all was they had functions which happily take parameters. Functions love to take parameters. They get up every morning all excited about taking parameters. They wrote these functions and hard-coded all the values into them. So it was SharePoint-y stuff. So we'll say maybe one of them was create list. I don't know. I don't remember what they were now. So it would be like create list, whereas it should be like add SP list. And then inside of the function, there would be a variable defined. Server name equals blah, list name equals blah, web name equals blah. Oh, so close. So very close. So emailed the coworker back, and I'm like, looking at the logic, it will probably do what it needs to do, but holy cow, I would feel just dirty running that function the way that it is. You need to do the thing, put the command binding in, add the parameters, but that was so close, so very close. So good stuff. But like Mike's saying, make your stuff dynamic, not static. So hard coding, URLs and library names in, that's a bad deal. You want to make it dynamic. Now for more bad news. Back in podcast 241, I talked a little bit about password managers and all the stuff that's going on. People keep getting hacked, passwords keep getting exposed. And one of the things that I recommended you use was Lastpass. Lastpass had a Windows Phone app, and it was all cloud-based, and it made it super easy for you to have good password strategies of multiple, different usernames and different passwords for all the different websites we go to during the day. Well, I got bad news. Lastpass got hacked. So the Lastpass sent out an email today saying that a bunch of their data was compromised. They don't think it's enough that the compromiser will be able to log in as anybody, but user hashes were pulled down, some salts, things like that. So if you are a LastPass user, all is not lost. If you change your master password, you should be safe. So if you haven't done that before, stop whatever you're doing right now. Go out and change your LastPass master password, and that should protect you because that rehashes everything on their back end. But so this is one of those things. I'm of two minds on this topic. So I stand by the idea that you should use some kind of password manager because this day and age, it makes the most sense for you to have a different login for every place that you go. And if your login is an email address, it makes sense for that to be a different email address everywhere you go. You can do that a couple of ways. If you have Gmail, you can do the dot thing. And so you can, like, my Gmail address is toddklindt@gmail. I can do toddklindt.arstechnica. And that email address goes to my mailbox, but it's separate. And you can do things like that. All the different email platforms have ways to do that. It's going to sound like a horrible plug. I have all of my email through Rackspace, Hosted Exchange. And one of the things I can do with any of my mailboxes is add more email addresses. So my main email address, I would guess, literally has 200. My main mailbox literally has 200 different email addresses because every different thing that I go to, I create a new email address for. And the value of that is if somebody, like if I had my login for LastPass was lastpass@toddklindt.com, if somebody pulls that database and then just walks through and tries all those usernames and passwords at eBay and Amazon and all those places to try to get me into trouble, well, obviously I don't log into eBay with lastpass@toddklindt.com. So that kind of gives you some extra protection there. Also, it's a huge pain, but have different passwords everywhere for the same reason. These guys, they're selling this information. This isn't a bunch of high school kids just doing it for the lulz. They're trying to sell this stuff. They're trying to make money. They're trying to do bad things. So have different passwords everywhere. And again, it's a pain, but something like LastPass or something will help you manage all of that. The other thing is any place that offers two-factor auth or multi-factor auth, kind of the same thing. That's always a good idea to have. And two-factor auth, the way I always think of that is it's something that like your password, and something that you have, and it can be a fob, it can be a text message to your phone, something like that. Or the way that I like to explain it to my mom is two-factor auth is something that she can forget and something that she can lose. Those are kind of the two things. So, and all the big players have two-factor auth. Google's got it for Gmail. They've got it for Hotmail, all that kind of stuff. Enable that. It takes a little getting used to. But like, for instance, I've got it enabled on my Microsoft account. And if I log in to my Microsoft account from a new device, one that it doesn't recognize, it makes me do the two-factor auth. And it texts me an authentication number to my phone, and I have to put that in, and then it lets me log in. So that obviously keeps the bad guys out of your stuff. Personally, so I talked about using LastPass before. I didn't end up using it because I found out the folks at Devolutions give Microsoft MVPs, which I am at least for the next 15 days, but hopefully for another year. They make a couple of great products, but one of them is Password Vault Manager, and you can go to passwordvaultmanager.com, and that's the one that I ended up using. I'm sure it's got all the same features that all the other password managers have. Fills them in web pages, got browser plugins that automatically fill stuff in, things like that. But that's how I've started getting a handle on that. So every time, I have to go to a web page and my password file is in the cloud. So if I install a new machine, I install Password Vault Manager, I point it at that cloud file, install the browser plugins and browser plugins for Chrome and Firefox and IE and all those. And then whenever I go to a web page, it goes, you're going to Amazon. I've got a password for Amazon. Poof, it pops me in, that kind of stuff. So again, they're all great. LastPass, let's see what the other ones that I talked about were. KeepPass, 1Password, all of them are great. Just make sure that you keep an eye on these kind of things. And if they get exploited, you want to do that. So talking about the folks at Devolutions, so I am also huge fan. What kind of got me involved with them? I am a huge fan of their product Remote Desktop Manager, and you can find that at remotedesktopmanager.com. And I use that for all of my RDP sessions and all that. And I could not love that that product more. And I need to do like a podcast talk about it, like show the screen and stuff like that. I log into 15, 20 servers a day, and having this all in one place is just great. And the interface is good. It's got a bunch of things that I love. But what kind of puts it over the edge for me is it has an enterprise version, a team version. So I can go into my version of Remote Desktop Manager and set up a bunch of machines that I share with coworkers, SharePoint servers, that kind of stuff, set all the passwords, and my coworkers who are also running it can hit that same set of settings from our server. We've got a server for it. And then they just log in. And as I change passwords and do things like that, I change it, it gets set up to the server, they click it, and it just works. It is phenomenal software, huge fan of it, remotedesktopmanager.com. Now, again, I think I mentioned it before, but in the spirit of full disclosure, Devolutions, they give this software to MVPs. So I did not pay for it. It was a gift to me, and I appreciate that. But I love it just the same. Much like TechSmith, they give me Snagit and Camtasia, and I'm hooked. If they quit giving me Snagit tomorrow, I would happily write them a check for it. It's good stuff. But so a couple of people in the chat room are talking about Remote Desktop Manager. One of the great things that Remote Desktop Manager does is it imports all of your information from other places. So if you're using Royal TS or I forget what some of the other ones were, but it will pull all those settings in for you, because we had a bunch of people that did that, because you've got all your folders and your passwords and all that kind of stuff, just pulls them in. It'll import RDP sessions if you've got .rdp files. It's phenomenal software. I'm a big fan of it. So I think that is it. We'll move on. So let me get my focus over here so I can change my slide. We'll go on to the shameless self-promotion. So in 3 days, Thursday afternoon, I'm doing a presentation at the Iowa SharePoint user group. And Jerry, my beloved coworker, had to bring out that if I passed, when I pass that Azure exam, that I will be a Microsoft Cloud Certified Solution Developer. I am already a Microsoft Certified Developer, Solution Developer, because of other exams that I've taken. So I don't talk about that much. If I'm at a party and anybody asks, I'm like, I've never heard of it. But I think that already sullies my my Microsoft transcript. But anyway, in 3 days and Thursday afternoon, I will be presenting at the Iowa SharePoint user group, and I'm going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that I saw at Ignite and things that have happened since then. You can find out all about that at iowasharepoint.com. And I believe Wendy Neal, my friend from my fellow Iowan in SharePoint from Cedar Rapids, just down the road a stretch, I think she's coming in for that one too. And I don't know what she's talking about. It'll be way cooler than whatever I talk about, though. I can tell you that much. And then taking a month off, don't have anything planned for July. In August, my man, Mike Robbins in the chat room here talked me into that silver tongue devil, talked me into doing a presentation for the Mississippi PowerShell user group. And that will be August 11th at 8:30 Central. So this time slot right here, but on Tuesday night and in August. You can go out to mspsug.com and see all the lineup for all the great speakers are going to have. Excuse me, Mike and I haven't nailed down what I'm going to talk about. I'm thinking maybe Azure stuff. I've been doing a lot of Azure Office 365 stuff, so maybe that. But I think anybody can sign up for that. I think it's an online deal, so you can sign up for that even if you're not in Mississippi or in my basement when I do that. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm going to be at SP TechCon, and you can go to sptechcon.com and read all about that. That is August 24th through the 27th, I will be doing my upgrade session, and I believe I'm doing my PowerShell with PowerShell in the cloud session. That starts on a Tuesday, I believe. Let me check. Nope, that starts on a Monday, but I think I'm showing up on a Tuesday. I will probably be doing the podcast from there. So let's just plan on that. If you're going to be at SP TechCon in Boston on Monday, August 24th, let's just plan on getting a room, just you and I, a little something casual, something cozy, and doing ourselves a podcast. So we need to, we'll get that all straightened out with those guys. They're always pretty accommodating. And then the next month, September 18th and 19th, I will be making the road trip down south to our neighbor to the south, who I was just there this weekend, down to Missouri, to Branson, Missouri for SharePoint-A-Looza. And you can go to sharepointalooza.org and find out all about that. And again, not entirely sure what I'm going to be talking about with those guys. I've been working on that. Probably some Azure stuff, Office 365 stuff, things like that. But all the Todd Klindt that you can handle in the next few months, it's just going to be too much. The year started off slow, with no SharePoint conference and just Ignite all being one thing. I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing, but it looks like things picked up. So, and it looks like a bunch of my friends are going to be at SharePoint-A-Looza. Lori's going to be there. Jason's going to be there, which is probably the case for SP TechCon too. I think Lori will probably be there. Jason will be there. Always a fun time. And once again, if you're at any of these events, SharePoint-A-Looza, SP TechCon, whatever, and you see me, for goodness sakes, come up and say, hey, tug on my sleeve or whatever. I'm a super friendly guy. I would love to chat with any of you. Tell me what you like about the podcast. Tell me what you don't. All that great stuff. Love to hear from you. So we are closing in on an hour. I don't even know how this happens. But I'm going to sign off for tonight. I will miss you guys next week. Not that much. I'm going to be on the beach in Jamaica, but just a little bit. I'll miss you guys. I will see you again in 2 weeks, and we will be talking about stuff. In 3 weeks, Kirk Evans will be here. Put that on your calendars. You're not going to want to miss that. And all kinds of great stuff. Thanks for showing up. You guys have a good night, and I will see you in 2 weeks.